Tools of the trade. Hi, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to share with you all the tools and supplies that we use as professional floral designers so we can create the arrangements of your dreams. So you ready to see how we pros use these tools? Let's get started. So I thought after almost 200 videos of flower arranging that I should share a video with you all about all the tools that you need for floral design and how to use them. So that's what we're going to do today. No flower arranging, but we're going to go over the tools of the trade. So first off, you need mechanics for securing flowers. That's sort of basic. And what I have here is Floral Foam. Floral Foam is my go-to. And nothing beats it for convenience, securing your stems. And I know all the arguments about, it's bad for the environment, all that, but it's really indispensable. Now, if you're really worried about the environment, there's a new product by Oasis called Forage. It's this dark brown, almost black color floral foam that's biodegradable. And I'll put a link in the description below for both these products. Now, on Amazon, they have a lot of different manufacturers of floral foam and sort of hit or miss. And they're less expensive than the Oasis brand floral foam. I don't know the quality because they're all over the place. I've bought some that doesn't absorb any water, some that are too dense, some that are too not dense. So if you can find Oasis brand floral foam, buy that. If not, then buy different ones on Amazon. Look at the reviews. They are less expensive, and I think the quality is all over the place. There may be some that are perfectly fine. Okay. Now, I thought, first of all, I need to share with you how you soak floral foam and how much floral foam do you soak. So as you can see, with an Oasis brick of floral foam, it's scored into thirds, and there's also a midline, so you can cut it in half. It's sort of a guide for you. Now, if you're going to be making 10 centerpieces, then I would soak this entire block and cut the floral foam after. But if you're making just one centerpiece and you just need a third of a block, then I would just cut the floral foam dry and soak what you need. Because you don't want to have, well, these are not inexpensive, first of all, the bricks of floral foam. And you don't want to have wet floral foam sitting around for days and days because it will go bad. What I mean by going bad is there's invariably going to be some contaminants in the container and the water that's sitting in. So it could start to smell and not be very fresh. And you don't want to use really old foam. It's fine for 2-3 days, but I wouldn't want to use floral foam that's been sitting around for like a couple of weeks. And you don't want to waste your foam because once floral foam's been wet, and if you don't use it and it dries out, you can't rehydrate it again. So it's not reusable foam. And so what I have here is a foam knife. That's another thing you should have in your toolkit is a foam knife. What's a foam knife? Any long serrated knife, like a long bread knife, an old bread knife. This is a cheap IKEA knife that I bought. You just want a long knife like this. And you cut your foam. The reason I like to cut the foam wet is because if you ever work with floral foam, you'll know that little sort of powdery things come off of it as you handle it dry, and that doesn't happen when it's wet. But since I'm just going to show you how to use floral foam in a small container, I'm just going to soak a third of a block of floral foam. And how do you soak floral foam? I'm going to show you. There are techniques for this. First of all, you want to have a large basin of water. I actually do this in a big utility sink, but I just want to show you in a bowl right here. And this has Floral Life preservative in there. This is floral preservative. It's already dissolved in here. And you put your foam on here, in here, and let it float and soak the water in. Do not push it down, because if you push it down, there'll be air bubbles in the foam that'll create dry spots that you can't see. And if you have a stem that hits that dry spot, then it's going to be dry the whole time. So floral foam not only secures your flowers in the container, it provides hydration. And I'm just going to let that set aside and let that soak. And it soaks very quickly, but don't force it. Just let it sit there for, a good 20 minutes or so and prep everything else. So I've showed you foam and the foam knife. The other way to secure things in containers, of course, is chicken wire. Now you can buy chicken wire in spools like this. It's a plastic coated type of chicken wire that's green for using flowers. And I will link this below. You could buy this on Amazon. And you just cut a little piece of this off, depending on the size of your container, something like this. And then you just ball it up and put in your container. And then you can design with it. And I would secure it with bowl tape. That's the next thing I'm going to show you. Bowl tape. Not to be confused with floral tape for stems. Bowl tape is basically a narrow green, like duct taped. It's a very, very strong waterproof tape, and that's what we use to secure things in place. Now, if you're using chicken wire, I would secure it with some duct tape. The reason is chicken wire will pull out. Say you're designing with chicken wire and you put a stem in, you kind of change your mind, you want to pull it out and put it somewhere else. Your entire arrangement could get pulled out if you're trying to remove a stem if you don't secure your mechanic with this bowl tape. It's less prevalent with floral foam. The floral foam is heavy and it sits in the container. I do secure the floral foam with the bowl tape if I'm transporting it. If I'm doing an arrangement, I'm just going to move it from, my kitchen to my dining room, then I usually don't bother with the bowl tape. For best practices, you should secure your foam with bowl tape. It just depends on the situation. Like if the floral foam is sitting securely in a container and I'm just taking it, from one room to another, I don't do that. But if it's something that's, kind of sticking out a little bit, or it's, kind of a novelty application of floral foam, then I will use the bowl tape. So bowl tape is not as easy to find as floral tape online, but I think they do have this on Amazon. And it's a great tape. It's very useful. It's very strong, waterproof. It comes in this thin green width. Okay. They also have clear, but the green usually is pretty good. And the nice thing about chicken wire is, of course, it's reusable. After your arrangement's done, you've got this ball of chicken wire you can use in other containers, right? But the only thing is, with chicken wire, it's a little bit more difficult to arrange with chicken wire because you've got to place it just right, because sometimes you'll hit an area where you want to put a stem, but then the wire is like preventing you from going in. It's not as secure as floral foam, in my opinion. And also, you kind of need to use it in an opaque container like this. That's the same for floral foam, but generally speaking, you don't want it visible if you're using a clear vase. Okay. Now let's go to what do you do if you're going to use floral foam in a clear vase like this. This is a great product that I think, is pretty indispensable, and I would say it's a floral design basic. This is tea leaf wrap. So in the old days, I would buy tea leaf from the flower market. Tea leaf is spelled T-I, not tea like the tea we drink. Tea leaf is a tropical leaf that's really large, and you could cut it, shape it, mold it, and we would cut tea leaf and then put it inside here to hide your foam. That's sort of tedious, and tea leaf is not available everywhere, right? It's available for professional florists if we go to market, but if I were to go to Safeway or Trader Joe's or Costco to buy some flowers, I'm not going to be able to find any tea leaf. So this is a wonderful thing called tea leaf wrap. This is available now on Amazon. When they first came out, it was from Italy. It was very expensive, like about $40 a roll. Now there's all sorts of different manufacturers, and so this is not expensive anymore. So I would buy a roll of this, keep it on hand, and what I do is I will kind of go around the perimeter of my clear container, cut a piece off, and then you put it inside here. So this goes for cylinder vases or square vases, whatever shape vase you want to use. And what it does is it will hide your floral foam. And once you do an arrangement in here, it looks like you've got a natural green leaf around it. So we do this a lot in wedding work because this is sort of a bread and butter container for us for wedding centerpieces. Standard centerpieces are low on the table. We use clear cylinders and clear cubes a lot. And so you put your foam in here. Our foam's been soaked. And you put your foam in here. And then you fill the container with water. and then you can design, and then your mechanics are hidden. So this is another really great product that you should have in your toolkit. Why are there so many different shapes of floral foam? This is a caged foam. Now that's different from this floral block. They're caged foam like this in all sorts of shapes and sizes. You have hollow hearts, solid hearts, crosses, wreaths, little discs like this in different sizes, as well as cages that are square like this, but it has a cage. The plastic cage around here reinforces the foam so it doesn't break up. And the way we use something like this is, for instance, you can do a flower accent and put it on top of a wedding cake. So this is what we use for wedding cakes, for instance. It's got a plastic backing here and plastic cage, and you soak it just like you do your regular floral foam. And great thing about cages like this is you can affix it to a pew, for instance. There's a little hole here, and there's a little contraption, like a little pew clip, and this clips on. So if you're doing wedding work, this clips onto a pew or a chair, so you can make a decoration on a chair or a table. So this is very, very versatile, and that's why there's all these different shapes of foam. And for instance, you guys who watch me all the time know I love to use weird things for floral containers, right? So we've got this little candle holder here, and you can do this, put this on here, do a really beautiful cascading arrangement. Would be a really pretty little centerpiece for like a little luncheon or a small table. That's unique and unusual. This is what we call the exposed foam technique, okay? And to secure this on here, I'm gonna show you another one of my favorite products called Oasis Dashes. So this is like glue dots. Now, I know you can buy glue dots at craft stores, but this is much, much stickier than any glue dot you can find, and they come in little squares. And this is not inexpensive when it's a big roll like this, but I believe on Amazon they sell small packs of it. Now, a big roll like this lasts me years, and so if you are just a home gamer, you might just want to buy a little pack. So you could just take a little piece, a couple pieces of this, put it on here, and it'll secure your foam really well without having to glue gun this permanently onto your prop, because once the flowers are spent, you just pull it off, throw it away. You don't want to have to deal with, glue all over your prop, right? So glue dashes, another wonderful thing. There's a million uses for this, including, using it for corsage work. Okay. Next thing I'm going to show you is something I talk about all the time, polyfoil. What's polyfoil? Polyfoil is sort of that thing you see, like if you go and buy like a potted poinsettia or something, often it's wrapped with a decorative foil that's waterproof around it, right? So that's what this is. It is a decorative foil with plastic backing, and it's waterproof. Now it comes in all sorts of colors. I always buy this moss green one because I don't use it to cover pots with. No, never, right? But what I do use this for is to waterproof containers that are not watertight. For instance, we have this little wooden crate, and it's not watertight. And so you do a piece of polyfoil in here, and then you can just arrange in here like it were a vase. And there's a million places you can think of to use this, right? If you have baskets, or I have this little doorknob basket. That's sort of an awkward shape, so this is a perfect place where I can use polyfoil. Now, often if you have baskets or other containers, you could use the single-use food storage containers that you can buy at like the Dollar Tree or just anywhere. And I always collect a lot of those and save a lot of little containers. Those of you who've been watching me know I hoard like all sorts of weird little containers, especially the weird shaped ones. Like, I don't know, when you buy mushrooms or the chicken stock containers, milk cartons, you never know where you need something, right? So save those, especially weird shaped ones, and also pick up when you are at the dollar store, different containers that you can line baskets and other boxes, things that you want to turn into a vase, but you don't have it, but it's not watertight, okay? So that's what polyfoil is. I'll try to link all the products I'm talking about in the description below so you can purchase on Amazon. And if you have access to a floral supply store or a floral supply house, they'll have a lot of these products. Okay, moving along. Let's talk about wiring and taping. So I'm going to show you wire and tape. This is mostly for corsage work, okay? Boutonnieres and corsages, you want to wire and tape your flowers. So floral tape comes in different colors, different greens. I have two here, a light spring green and an olive green, which I think look pretty natural. They also have like a medium dark green, every color. They have white, they have black, they have dark brown, sort of depending on what you want to match with your stem. And this is just regular wire. They come in different gauges. Okay, and you just want kind of a medium, not super heavy or super lightweight gauge. I have floral wire in all sorts of gauges, and I think the 26 or 24 gauge is the most useful. They have 18 gauge, which is really thick for certain things. If you want a really stable, very sturdy stem, you want like an 18 gauge. And if you want really fine, they have 28 gauge, which is really fine. We usually do that for we're doing wreaths and things like that, where we're doing a lot of little bits. So the most useful gauge wire, I would say, would be 24 or 26, a medium gauge wire that is pretty much all purpose for doing corsages. And how do you wire and tape? You take a piece of wire, and floral tape is this wonderful invention. It's sort of coated in a sticky, waxy thing that's double-sided, and it sticks to your wire, and then you kind of pull it vertically down your wire like this. You use a lot less tape, and it's a lot less bulky. I'm showing this technique. I've shown it in my corsage video, but I'm going to show you again because I know a lot of amateurs will tape like this. They will just kind of keep going down like this, covering a lot of wire with it. You use a lot of wire, and it takes a lot it takes a lot of effort, and it's bulkier. So you don't do it the way you think, like you're just going to wind it around the thing, the wire. You pull it. This thing is stretchy, and the more you stretch it, the more sticky it is, exposes that sticky waxy thing, substance on there, and you pull it down like this along the length of your wire. And that's how we pros do it, quickly, using less tape, less bulky, and that's how you wire and tape. So there's all different kinds of wire. The straight wire is for doing corsages and boutonnieres, for when you wire flowers. We have also bind wire. There's different kinds on a spool. This is called bind wire, which is covered. It's a pretty thin wire covered in sort of a papery covering. I like bind wire better than spool wire. Spool wire is just this type of wire on a spool. This is for making wreaths or making little halos for flower girls, whenever you need to bind things together. This is something that you really need to have in your toolbox. And another thing I love about this bind wire is it's really useful in the garden. If you are tying up, climbing plants and things, this is wonderful, okay? So that's all about wiring and taping. Now, what kind of tools do we use for cutting? So I have good pair of pruning shears. I like the Felcos. These Felco number 6s are kind of perfect for flower design, not too heavy and not too light. Okay, I like the Felco pruning shears number 6. I have 2 pairs of scissors here. Why do I have 2 pairs of scissors here? I have one for ribbon, one for everything else. The everything else scissors will be dull after a while because you're cutting all sorts of things with it. And then this is my ribbon scissors. When my ribbon scissors gets dull, it gets retired, and this becomes the all-purpose scissors. So your brand new best scissors are your ribbon scissors. What I do is I tie a ribbon on it so I don't take it and start cutting all sorts of things with it. And so that's why I have 2 pairs of all-purpose scissors. And then when this gets a little bit dull, I retire it and it becomes this scissor. This looks like a pair of scissors. These are wire snips. These are great. Mine are very beat up because I've had them for like 25 years. And I don't know if they have this on Amazon. This I bought at a supply house. This is These are very heavy duty metal scissors that cut through wire, like your chicken wire, and also cuts through plastics and anything really heavy. And I use this in the kitchen also because it could cut through your lobster tail if you're a cook. Okay, so these are wonderful. And then I have just little wire snips like this for snipping wire, like this kind of wire. Okay, these little ones are great. And then you can have heavier ones if you work with artificial flowers a lot. And those, you know, just kind of depends on what you like. So these are the utensils. Another one that's indispensable are rose strippers. Get the plastic kind like this. It has a plastic sleeve. The old-fashioned rose strippers are the metal ones, and they're awful because when you run your hand down the length of the rose, you're going to get scratches and things. This is much better, has a plastic sheath, and it strips the roses really well, and it protects your hands. Rose strippers, now available on Amazon, inexpensive. I'll see if I can find some to link below. So these are sort of the basics I need for processing and designing with flowers. Now for lasting quality, what do we need? Well, every video I talk about Floral Life Quick Dip, not sponsored by them, don't get paid by them, just a great product. I buy it in these huge gallon jugs. They're available in these smaller bottles. These are what, 16-ounce bottles. And this is a cute little jar I have. And what I do is I pour about 2 inches or so of this Quick Dip in here. And then I dip my stems in here. Now, I use Quick Dip in processing as well as arranging. So if you're processing your flowers, then you clean the flowers and you dip the flower stem in here, and then you put it in a bucket with floral preservative solution in it. Floral preservative comes in little packs like this or in canisters, okay, like jars. And I'll link below Floral Life or whatever brand. And floral preservative basically has a bactericide and a sugar to feed your flowers and helps your flowers last longer and bloom beautifully after they're cut. So this is also something that you really should use. And I know there's all these videos about pennies and aspirin and Sprite and stuff. Just buy floral preservative. I actually did a video for my son's science fair one year, testing all the different things, bleach, alum, plain water, or grandma's recipes for preserving flowers. Professional floral preservative works the best, okay? And it's not expensive, just buy some. So back to Quick Dip, I put it in a jar like this because you can reuse it. So you don't have to throw it out after you use it. So I use this for processing, and then when I'm ready to design, I have my bucket of flowers. When I take a stem out, I'll cut the stem, dip it in the Quick Dip before I put in foam, a vase, and chicken wire, whatever I'm designing. And then this will get kind of yucky looking, you know, yellow and cloudy. It's okay, it still works. And then you can always cap it so you're not wasting it. That's why I have it in a little jar with a lid. You can use a mason jar, whatever, you know, whatever you have, peanut butter jar, anything, okay? So that's Floral Life Quick Dip, which is wonderful. It really does help the flowers last a lot longer. That in combination with the floral preservative. So that's why I show this every week. Let me show you corsage pins. If you're going to be doing boutonnieres, corsages, or bouquets, then you need to have pins. So I have 2 different kind of pins here. Long corsage pins. I like the diamond head ones. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? They have the pearl ones too, but the really long ones like this, like 2 inches. And then I have the super short ones, which are like a 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch pearl headed pins are for when you do a wedding bouquet, for instance, and you wind the stem with ribbon. This secures it. Now they have a 1 inch pearl pin that they market as boutonniere pins. Don't buy those. They're not that useful. They're too short to secure a boutonniere and too long for using your bouquets because you don't want the pin to come out the other side and poke your bride or bridesmaids, right? So the short 1 inch pearl headed pins are great for securing ribbon. And then the 2 inch pins, either diamond head or pearl head ones are great for boutonnieres and corsages. Okay, these are my pins that I use. And other little things I will show you that are not sort of basics of floral design, but things that we do use. Water tubes. So the way you use water tubes is to add florets like an orchid floret into an arrangement. Now, Cymbidium orchids will come on a long stem, and they're sold by the stem. They're pretty expensive, like $30 or so for a stem, but there'll be maybe 15 florets like this on a stem, and sometimes you just want to add 1 or 2 here and there in your arrangement. You don't want a big, long stem. So you cut a stem of your orchid off, for instance, and then you put it in the water tube. And that's how you can add like an orchid like this into your arrangement. Or if this is not long enough, you can secure it onto a pick. This is another thing I use all the time. These are wired picks. This is a pretty long wire pick. It's a wooden pick that's square with a copper wire on it. And then you could just wind this on here. And that extends a stem so that you can add something like one single little flower, like a floret, in an arrangement. And the wooden picks come in a lot of different lengths. I always buy the long ones because I rarely need the short ones. And I figure if I have the long ones, I can always cut it down short, right? And so I just buy the long ones because I do have some of the short little ones, and I find that I rarely use them. So I like these long wire picks. And that's how you can use this. And you can use your picks for other things, of course, for silk flowers. These are just really, really useful. Like if you were to make a ribbon and you want to make a bow, for instance, and you want to put it inside an arrangement, you could tie your bow to this and stick into your arrangement. Say you want to add a little bird or a butterfly, you could tie it onto here and add it to your arrangement. So there's a lot of uses for these wired picks. And that's how you use water tubes. The water tubes also come in different, they're different types. There are really big ones. There's shorter ones, they're clear ones, depending on your application. I like the green with a point because you could put it in floral foam or arrangements easily, or into a garland. That's the application we use most often, is using this in a garland. So I'm making a arch for a wedding, for instance, and I've got a greenery garland and they want flowers in the garland. You can't just stick the flowers in there because it's going to be outdoors in the summer for hours and hours. The flowers are going to wilt in like, half an hour. So we'll put the flowers individually in these picks and then stick them into the garland. And that's what we use these for. And that's why the pointed green ones are the best, in my opinion. Okay. What else? If you're going to be doing flower crowns, corsages, boutonnieres, you have to get this product, Oasis Floral Adhesive. Nothing else works like this. So it has to be this. And they do sell this on Amazon. And in the old days when I started in this business, they had this wonderful glue, but it was packaged in the worst, most old-fashioned way you can imagine. It was in a tin bottle, like turpentine would be in, like a tin bottle. And then it came with like a little glue bottle dispenser, but it will dry out, get all messy, and you maybe could use 30% of it before the whole thing is unusable. So finally, they came out with these in tubes. So the floral floral adhesive by Oasis, again, is indispensable. So you can literally glue flowers onto leaves and things like that for corsages and things. So it saves you too much wire and taping, which can make the corsage bulky as well as time consuming. So we use glue for a lot of our corsage work, especially wrist corsages where you don't want it to stick out a lot. You don't have a lot of space to work with, right? You want a pretty wrist corsage that doesn't like stick out really big and is very bulky and nobody wants to wear it. I did make a video about wrist corsages, and you can look that up, and I'll teach you how to use this in corsage work. And this is wonderful also for making flower crowns. I think I made a video recently on how to make flower crowns. Instead of wire and taping every little thing, we just glue it in with this floral adhesive. It's amazing. You can't even pull the things off. Waterproof, just a really great product, okay? One more thing I want to show you, greening pins. They're like these little tiny pins that kind of remind me of garden stakes, but much smaller. Now, I don't use them very often, but they're very useful for securing moss or leaves onto foam. And this, I think, was used a lot in funeral work. In the old days, funeral work was, a lot of leaf work. They're covering wreaths and things with leaves, like Gaelic leaves or, ivy leaves, and they're just poking this into the straw wreaths and securing it. So greening pins are very useful for securing moss, leaves, whatever you want onto things. And so I do use these, but not all the time. This is kind of a nice to have, not necessary. But if you are really serious and you're doing a lot of wreaths and things like that, this might be a great thing to use. Okay. I think that's most of the things I use. I think that's a lot of information I'm throwing at you, but I just wanted to show you, all the tools of the trade. Now, indispensable to floral design, of course, is a turntable. So you can buy a turntable anywhere. I bought this at Home Goods, and it's a nice turntable, nice sturdy turntable. And you put your arrangement on there, and you can see it from all sides, and it's just a great thing to have. And learn to use gloves. So when I do flowers, I always wear gloves. So I buy the Kirkland gloves, any kind of gloves, the disposable gloves, and they're wonderful. They save your hands. Floral work is just tough on the hands. I wear it all the time. I go through, if I'm doing a day of designing, I go through maybe 4 or 5 pairs of these at least. And so I use it for processing. I use it for designing. I use it for almost everything. It's just get used to it. Some people are like, oh, I can't use gloves. I'm not used to it. Get used to it because you don't want to have stains on your hands. There are a lot of chemicals on flowers. I don't really want that absorbed through the skin. When you buy commercially grown cut flowers, there's just going to be pesticides and other things on there. So wear your gloves. So I actually use these single-use gloves, are great. Buy a couple boxes, have it in your workspace, save your hands, and just learn to use it. So I think that is all that I'm sharing with you today. I think it's pretty comprehensive. I'm going to try to link in the description below as many as products I can find on Amazon. And if you're lucky enough to live close to a floral design supply house, go check it out. And now you know what you're looking at, right? There's lots of things, of course. There's ribbons and all containers in those supply houses. But these are the basics that you need for floral design. I did find on Amazon a really great starter kit. I think it has like wire and tape and snips and pins and things like that, which is not expensive, so that can get you started. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. I hope I've not thrown too much at you in one go. You can rewind and see how to use all these products. As always, please like and subscribe. Click the little bell to be notified when I put out a new video. I'm still recuperating from my back fracture, so I'm not doing, the full-on floral videos, but I thought this is a very important video to share with all my regular viewers and my new viewers alike. So equip yourself with the basics of floral design. Go out and buy some flowers and treat yourself, because flowers are nature's little luxury. And I will see you in my next video.